Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about who is probably one of my favorite epic nukers in the entire game, and you've probably guessed who it is based on the thumbnail. I wasn't exactly hiding it. It is, of course, going to be Magnarr, a champion that was actually part of a fusion back in the day, so a lot of players had access to getting him. Of course, there's been some summoning events around him as well, and he is an epic HP-based nuker, so I'd say he's a lot more feasible to get your hands on as opposed to somebody else on my account, like, say, for example, a Taurus, right? So not everybody's going to have a Taurus. I figured it'd be pretty cool to do a showcase of a Magnarr since a lot more players are going to have them, and you can kind of see what you're going to get out of them. Build that we're rocking with here today, I am actually going to have to go ahead and switch the gear over. I'm curious, let me know down in the comments what you guys are thinking of the gear presets so far. I am absolutely loving this, honestly. The only thing I don't like is, of course, the silver cost to change the gear over each time. So, for example, we're, of course, going to be pulling the gear off my Taurus, and you can see that it's going to cost 1.2 million silver to switch the gear. And that's not even accessories, right? So it would be more expensive with accessories. So let's go ahead and switch this. What we're going to do now is show you the total stats. So for total stats, we are rocking with 102,000 HP, which is pretty damn good for an epic. 3,200 defense, right around that whole, ultimate, or not ultimate, sorry, but the most efficient defensive number to have. You generally want to aim for about 3,200. 233 on the speed, 105 on the crit rate, 236 on the crit damage. I wish the crit damage was a little bit higher. It would definitely help if we had a higher awakening. I'm gonna move a higher awakening on him as well. So, for example, the 4-star awakening would give us 30% extra crit damage, which would be huge. I'll go ahead and show you the gear here if you're curious. So we have an accuracy, crit rate, speed, and HP. This is pretty much perfect, except we wouldn't really want accuracy, maybe like a defense or resistance or something like that for Magnarr. Double HP, crit rate, speed, that's what we're looking for there. Speed, HP, crit rate. You can kind of see a theme here, right? Crit damage with crit damage, ascension, crit rate, HP, speed, HP, all that sort of good stuff. HP ascension on this, speed, crit rate, crit damage. And then we have speed with HP ascension, crit rate, HP on there as well. For the ring, it's okay. It's a reaction ring, which is why it's on here with an HP main stat and an HP substat. Crit damage, of course, we have a little bit of resistance on there as well. And then we have a absolutely sensational banner on this guy with defense main stat, quad roll HP with speed on there as well. It doesn't get much better than this unless it was like an HP main stat as well. But this is absolutely sensational for someone like a Magnarr, obviously, right? Because you're getting the reaction benefit, so the 25% chance to change a critical hit into a normal. And then you're also getting just an obscene amount of HP, right? So let's go ahead. Let's take this guy into probably Dragon 20, where everybody loves to run their damage tests. He is in the Heaven Cast Blessing as well, as you saw, so he is actually going to benefit from having some buffs on him. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring in our Arbiter just to get the turn meter up, and then we're also going to bring in our Lydia for the decreased defense and weaken. This is a magic stage, so since he's spirit, he is going to struggle a little bit. Let's actually go ahead and switch over. Let's bring him into stage 19 just so it's a bit more of a fair comparison, and then let's throw in our Arbiter, our Lydia, and our Magnarr. Let's see what he is capable of here, gentlemen. And of course, we are going to take him into the arena as well. I've also failed to go over his kit, so we'll do that right after this damage test, right after you can kind of see what you're getting yourself into here. Let's go ahead and slow this down on his A2. Boom, boom, takes them out, no problem. We're getting about 130k there on a double hitter. That's about 260k roughly on an AoE skill, which is absolutely fantastic. You can see why he's one of the best. Now, he is also +2 empowered, so keep in mind that is going to add a little bit to him. What does he do? He attacks one enemy, has a 60% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, 100% chance instead if they're under an HP burn. A2 attacks all enemies, placing an extra hit on enemies without HP burn, has a 50% chance of placing a stun on enemies with HP burn. And his A3 is an absolute blast as well, so attacks one enemy, applies a debuff spread effect, taking 2 random debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies with HP burn. Also increases the duration of HP burn debuffs on all enemies by 1 turn. Will not spread fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, or stun. So basically any other debuff like a decreased speed or something like that. Absolutely sensational champion, honestly, in terms of damage. You can see from his reviews, he is so good in so many areas of the game. Of course, all his damage is based on HP, so you're going to get a lot more damage off of him when you build him for survivability. And basically what you want is you don't want him to be running against people with burns, because he's not going to proc the second hit, and the second hit is where a lot of his damage comes from. And of course, his passive, this champion heals by 1% of his max HP every time anyone in the battle takes damage from a HP burn debuff, which is pretty crazy. These are his masteries. He comes down to Helm Smasher. Nothing too crazy. It's exactly what you'd expect for a nuke build. Let's see if I can just move out of the way. There you go. There's the masteries. We got him built out with a little bit of counter attack as well. The shield buff on him is quite nice too if he's killing people right. Let's go ahead and run this guy in the arena and see how we can do. He's also very, very competent for somewhere like the live arena as well, so keep that in mind. We could run him pretty efficiently here. The only thing I'm really worried about is, of course, the Mithrala as well as the Kyoku, so I might have to bring some sort of a stripper. I'm thinking maybe instead of a UDK, we bring in either an Uko or somebody else. I don't know how fast my Uko is, though, so my Magnarr is rocking at, what was it, 233? Yeah, so we're going to bring him, and then let's see here. I should have my Mighty Uko somewhere right here. Is he faster than 233? He is, so that'll be perfect. So we'll bring Mighty Uko in as well. Let's go ahead and slow this down. Boom! Boom! There it is. That's it. Magnarr does 233 damage, takes them all down. Now, obviously, that wasn't the tankiest team, so let's go ahead and run it against another team here so you can kind of see what we're getting ourselves into. What do we want to do here? So we got some AoE damage coming in. That's perfectly fine. I think, honestly, this same team, we can probably just 3-man it. Let's go ahead and bring in somebody maybe like her just to help get some more buffs on our team. As well as placing the weaken and the decreased defense on them, of course, because he does have Heaven Cast after all. He's going to do more damage based on how many buffs he has. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll buff up a couple additional buffs here, get a bit more turn meter boost, and we'll come in for the A2. Boom, boom. There's a bit more what we want to see. We'll go ahead and sleep here just so that she doesn't place the ally protect and the counter attack and whatnot. Oh, Syl was so close to death. There we go. Perfect. Sneak Track is a very cool champion, in all honesty. We got a refresh there, I think, on Theostrid, which is pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and do an ally attack here. And let's just go ahead and bomb in on the Sneak Track. There we go. So you can see that weaken definitely helps him inflict a little bit more damage too. Even though he is inside the Savage set as well, like it just helps at the end of the day, right? We'll go ahead and do a bit of a cleanse there. Bit of a shield on this guy. One thing to keep in mind as well, so Taurus is pretty much the only champion in the game whose max HP does not affect his overall damage. However, somebody like a Magnarr, if their max HP gets decreased, his overall damage is actually going to get decreased as well. So just make sure that you're bringing some sort of a viable strategy to actually increase his max HP again if it goes down. Otherwise, you're probably going to have a pretty poor experience with him. Weak hit there, which is not very fun. My god. Ancora is basically just refreshing every single time she attacks, which is insane. I swear it never happens this often. There we go. And boom, boom. She's healing up a lot, though. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it on auto. She's healing a lot, obviously, because of her passive, which doesn't help. Very long fight, but I mean, at the end of the day, I bought 3 supports and a damage dealer, right? Although that team is not particularly tanky. Let's go ahead and refresh. See if we can't find a bit of a different team to take this against. He is very good for a Ghost second team, obviously because of his ability to survive. So let's see if we could run it against a team like this. I'm going to bring maybe a Crixia. We have a Georgid coming in who could be a little bit problematic to deal with. He does have an AoE skill as well. And we got the block buffs coming in from Uko, so this is going to be a bit of a challenge. I think we might be able to do this, though, because if we do get clapped, the Marichka is just going to revive us, right? So, and we actually go first, apparently. Not sure how that's possible. My Crixie is only like 345 speed, and I was expecting our Arbiter to be way faster than that, but it is what it is, I suppose. That Georgid is not built very well either, my god. There we go. Everybody gets nuked out. Let's go ahead and place decreased resistance and all that sort of good stuff. We're going to go ahead and just A1 in here. She's going to get the revive. No, just kidding. She doesn't. All right. Well, that's GG then, I suppose. We'll just be able to place it on auto. I'm not sure if she's just a little silly with the AI or if she used her A3 there and I didn't see, because it should have been an AoE revive. There it is. What a weird choice. The AI is silly sometimes, hey? Nobody's going to have their skills available, though, so that's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and tap down the Arbiter on a juicy 30k hit there as well. And again, these might not be the most impressive numbers, but keep in mind this is an epic damage dealer that is significantly more accessible for everybody within inside the game. He was literally part of a fusion at one point, so everybody's going to have him. And also keep in mind that he's not fully empowered, fully awakened, nothing like that, right? So there is some crazy stuff that you can do with a Magnarr. I used him quite prolifically inside the Doom Tower. I use him a lot inside Tag Team Arena and all those sorts of good things. I'm curious, again, we're faster. What is going on? I'm curious if you guys would like to see a little bit more Tag Team or live arena content on the channel as well. Let me know down below if that's something you're interested in. I know personally, I love to watch live arena content, but I don't know if everybody shares that same interest. There we go. We just tap everybody down. Not really the best showcase, of course, because we are using a go second team, but somehow going first, which is a bit odd. I'm curious if we can get a more tanky team, in all honesty. Something like this might do, although 135k team power and a level 63 account, I don't think he's gonna have the gear to really make us sweat it all that much. So we outspeed them again, damn it. Works for me. Increase everybody's cooldowns. Now Baron is dangerous here because Baron can do surplus damage on his A1 if he kills somebody. So we're just gonna go ahead and boost everybody up if we can at all. Let's go ahead and do this. Boom, boom. Everybody almost died there. That's okay. The Arbiter isn't going to have her skills left. And what's really cool about running HP-based nukers, obviously, is when you get a decreased defense or a decreased attack on you, it doesn't mean anything. So somebody like a Krisk just doesn't do anything to you anymore, right? Because the decreased defense isn't going to lower your damage, and neither is the decreased attack. Somebody like a Taurus passive, where he decreases your attack every time you hit him, that doesn't mean anything when you're going against him with an HP nuker either, right? So we've definitely seen, I would say, the rise of some HP-based nukers inside the meta. So if you think about some of the most meta champions right now, you're looking at like Narcisse and you're looking at Taurus, right? And other champions are in there too, like Lazarius and stuff like that, but I don't think really drawing a comparison to a mythical is fair considering the arena meta. So are you going to get much use out of Magnarr outside of the arena? There's probably equal champions or better champions that will do a similar role, right? So seeing if you can get him fully awakened for use somewhere like Cintranos would be useful, obviously, right? Because you do have a lot more of those restrictions. So when I say restrictions, essentially, like, since he is an epic, it's easier to awaken him. So having a 6-star awakening on him is going to make it way easier to clear some of those secret rooms versus trying to get an awakening for a legendary champion or something like that. And I have noticed that Plarium tends to be a little bit more friendly when it comes to the prerequisites for Cintranos rooms, right? So generally, we're going to have more epic options than legendaries, or so it seems, but I might be wrong on that. I might be a bit biased. Who knows? Let's see if we can do a team like this. This is going to be interesting because the Hegemon's going to go first, obviously, so he's going to place like our skills on cooldown, or he's just going to smack us quite a bit. Either way, we get to decrease defense and weaken. Let's go ahead and do this. Just strip off all their buffs. Taurus won't be as scary now. Strip and all that sort of good stuff will heal, shield, and strengthen. And let's see what we can make happen. Boom. Boom. That should kill pretty much everybody except Taurus. Lydia survives just on a little bit of HP there as well. Decrease defense and resistance and all that sort of good stuff. I don't want anybody to die here because then Lydia's going to be able to bring herself back there. But let's go ahead and do this. Boom. Now, Taurus, oddly enough, actually works very, very well as a go-first nuker with like an Arbiter team or something like that. And the reason for that is his A3, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but his A3 actually is similar to something like a Seer, where it's doing damage based off of how many buffs are on your team. And he also doesn't strip it, right? So essentially, Seer is famous for stripping off the buffs and then just doing damage based on how many buffs were stripped. He's going to do the same thing, except he doesn't strip those buffs, right? So it's like an extra 15% damage or something like that for each buff. So when you have somebody like an Arbiter going in with like a increased speed and all those sorts of things, it certainly helps buff up his damage a little bit there, which is pretty crazy. Everybody's cooldown is increased, which is quite nice. We're going to go ahead and cleanse here as well. Let's go ahead and do the A2. We almost kill the Krisk there, which would have been quite nice. Almost forgot his name for some reason or another. We're just going to go ahead and strip everything off there. And we're going to go ahead and reset here as well, I think, just so that we can get the A2 out again. Boom. And the Krisk does go down that time. His max HP is going to get decreased as well, obviously, because we have the mastery that does that. Taurus is probably going to be able to come around to his skills soon, so we'll have to be careful about that as well, especially considering his turn meter increases and whatnot. We'll just go ahead and do that, take a little bit of the stone skin off there, off the UDK at least. This team is a insanely tanky team, obviously with all of the ally protection coming in from like the Krisk there, as well as the eating of the single hits from the UDK. So we get back around on the Crixia actually to do an increased cooldown and a strip again, which is insane, so that's awesome. The Taurus is going to have to keep A1ing for the time being. Boom. You can see he's eating it up. He's probably in like a Guardian set or something crazy like that. We're going to go ahead and cleanse, turn meter boost. We're going to go ahead and revive the Crixia, who's now going to have her skills reset again. We're just going to go ahead and reset once again. I might have to cut this fight and just come back to you guys once it's done, because this is probably going to take a while. We take down the Krisk once again, which is good. Oof, she gets sat down, unfortunately. So you can see his max HP is steadily decreasing, which is nice. Same thing with the Taurus. This particular team has no way to regain that decreased max HP either, which is quite nice. The Taurus is a little bit of a danger here, though, I won't lie, especially if he gets that A3 off with how many buffs they have. It's probably going to spank us. Let's go ahead and get the revive, though. Let's go ahead and get the heal and the shield and the strengthen. We're looking good. We're looking good. The UDK is healing a ton, which is very annoying. Let's see if we can't go ahead and strip them. There it is. We get the removed buffs. We're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and do probably this just to try and get some more damage on that UDK. Decreased defense there as well is fantastic. So we should be coming around to the A2 here on the Magnarr. Decrease the turn meter there at least, which is nice. Magnarr comes in with his A2. Boom, boom. Both Krisk and the UDK go down this time as well. So sometimes you can see it's just nice to slowly work your way through the fight. We're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and do this. And then we are going to reset the skills as well, so that we can just come straight back into that nuke once again. Taurus is in a swift parry set, apparently. That is interesting. I did not expect that. He must have pretty crazy stats on him in that swift parry, because he has definitely been hitting fairly well, so that's awesome. That's a good build for the Taurus, honestly. We are just going to go ahead and try to focus down some of these champions, though. I really want to get that Taurus down. I don't think he's got his skills off cooldown quite yet. He has some of them off cooldown. He didn't do much damage there, so it might not be a very well-built Taurus, in all honesty. In fairness, I've really only seen him hit my Crixia, which... obviously, Crixia is significantly more squishy than the rest of these champions, and he's just been locked out the rest of the time. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll just get some A1s in here. No need to do anything else, anything fancy. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put it on auto. I'm going to come back to you once the battle is over, and I'll show you how it went. And here it is. We have cleaned up the fight. So it was 4 minutes, 51 seconds, and this was how it went. So Magnarr ended up doing over 1 million damage, which is insane for an arena fight. That is absolutely crazy. Probably just the staggering amount of HP, obviously, on these champions. And they didn't go down, so we had to keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them. But as you can see, Magnarr is very, very competent, even if you're using him in the live arena. You can get some use out of him there as well. The only thing to keep in mind, obviously, is you have to build him fairly tanky, right? So you got to balance some HP and defense, and obviously the more defense you build a little bit, that takes away from his damage, since it is just strictly HP-based damage. And then on top of that, you also want to build him with a little bit of resistance and those sorts of things as well. Thank you guys all so much for watching, though. I hope this helped you get a better idea of Magnarr, how to use him, how to build him, all that sort of good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video.